Odisha Living Legend Awards were started in 2011 to acknowledge the great work by leading lights of Odisha, and today these awards have emerged as the most prestigious civilian awards in the state. Youth Inspiration Awards came into picture in 2012 to provide a platform to the inspiring young minds to interact with the legends. In 2013, the Odisha Inc. Awards were also established as an initiative to acknowledge excellent contribution to the corporate world of Odisha. All these awards are selected by a team of jury members that has been constituted by the foundation, and ladies and gentlemen, taking this prestigious award ceremony to the next level, Odisha Dairy Foundation has introduced the National Living Legend Award from this year. A huge round of applause for that. It isn't easy to get an award like this, to constitute an award like this here in Odisha, but Odisha Dairy Foundation has made it possible because, like I said, of the love, the passion they have for Odisha and the hard work this team has been putting in to make brand Odisha a reality. Well, we will be starting in a short while with the Living Legend Oration. The topic this year being Philanthropy in 21st Century, Challenges and Opportunity. And it's a matter of privilege for the team that we have two great philanthropists joining in for this oration. Shri Chanchalapathi Dasa, I've already welcomed him. He's here with us, Vice Chairman of the Akshya Patra Foundation. Can we have one more round of applause for him? And along with him, we'll also have Mr. Santanu Mishra, the co-founder and executive trustee of Smile Foundation. So a big round of applause for both of them. We will be starting with the oration in a very short while. But before we hear from both of them, could I request co-founder Shri Chanchalapathi Dasa to please come here and speak about the topic of the oration this time. I would want him to come here and speak a few words about the topic that we have. A huge round of applause. A hard-working co-founder, Chanchalapathi Dasa. And of course, would take this opportunity to welcome Shri Santanu Mishra as well, co-founder and executive trustee of Smile Foundation, and will request Kamala to speak a few words about the topic.
Thank you, Diksha Madam. Good evening. Welcome to the Odisha Living Legend Awards and the 14th annual celebration of establishment OdishaDairy.com. So Odisha Dairy Foundation welcomes you. The oration is a novel idea to reach out to people who can perhaps engage with not necessarily with a state-related topic, but can go beyond the nation and beyond perhaps our continent Asia and talk about a little bit of a global, what is happening around the world. So we have been talking about in the last 3 editions of the Living Legend Oration talking about how leadership can be made at political level, at policy level, at industrial level. Now, one more sector which has not much talked about is the sector of philanthropy, where a lot of leadership is shaping the world in a lot more way. And you might have heard many people like Bill Gates and people who are Narayan Murthy, they have foundations and they're doing strategic philanthropy where they're investing money in the development of the society. So in that way, we wanted to understand what is happening in the philanthropy sector. And without enough understanding of that, we won't be able to perhaps talk about an interconnected, intergovernmental, intercommunity collaboration in that. So today, the topic is, without taking much time, I would like to say that I welcome both the erudite speakers who have done excellent work in their own fields, and we'll definitely get the brief introduction from our Diksha Madam, who is our co-founder. Just the topic title is Philanthropy in 21st Century. So the title, why it was chosen like that, we have to understand what actually takes to make a legend in philanthropy, what it takes to make a leader in philanthropy. are our leaders today in the philanthropic development sector, making the second generation of leaders, because the major challenge is, because the objective of this Odisha Diary Foundation Living Legend and Youth Inspiration Award was that to provide a platform where living legends can actually tell their stories of struggle, stories of despair, stories of resilience, where the youth inspiration or youth icons of today can learn from them and perhaps collaborate with them and become living legends of the future. So objective is to handhold quite a few number of young people who can go on and become living legends of the future. So today the topic is philanthropy sector. We'll be trying to find out what are the challenges and opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dash has already spoken about why we chose this topic for the oration this time, to cultivate and promote the importance of contributing back to society in a very responsible and accountable manner. It is necessary to recognize and highlight the efforts of leaders, individuals, companies, and organizations who lead by example as philanthropists. And without any further delay, I would like to take this opportunity to now invite both our eminent personalities here on stage with a huge, huge round of applause from all of you. Please welcome Shri Chanchalapathi Dasa, Senior Vice Chairman of the Akshya Patra Foundation, and Shri Santanu Mishra, Co-founder and Executive Trustee of Smile Foundation. We'd like to welcome them with a huge round of applause. As is the customary practice, we would like to welcome them the traditional way. So I will request the founder and chairperson, Shri Rashmi Ranjan Parida, to please come on stage and felicitate, both our eminent personalities here on stage. आमे ओडिसारे उत्तरीय देई सम्मानित करू एवं एठी मध्य पारंपरिक अनुसार आमे आमर विशिष्ट अतिथि मानकु सम्मानित करूछु. The traditional way of felicitating our personalities. Right, ladies and gentlemen, Shri Das just said that I would be giving a brief introduction for about both our speakers here. Of course, in the world of philanthropy, they need no introduction, but I cannot miss this opportunity as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Shri Chanchalapathi Dasa, who has been working in the field of spiritual education since 1984 and social development since 2000. Although he has been passionate about science since his school days, he was introduced to Indian spirituality as an undergraduate student in PSG College of Technology, Coimbatore. Impressed by the profound concepts of spirituality, he pursued the same more vigorously while doing his master's program in electrical communication engineering at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. He combined his values of passion from his spiritual learning with his education in technology and applied the same to create a social development organization like the Akshya Patra. He is currently involved in strategy, planning, and governance of Akshya Patra. I extend a very warm welcome to him once again. We have with us Shri Santanu Mishra, co-founder and executive trustee of Smile Foundation, a national-level development organization that was established in 2002 by him and his friends as a part of their giving back to the society. He is an alumnus of Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, an associate member of Institute of Company Secretaries of India, and a qualified lawyer. Smile Foundation works on the subjects of education, healthcare, livelihood, and women empowerment through 185 projects operational across 25 states in the country. He comes from a background where volunteerism comes naturally from school days. So doing social good is one or the other way always remain in the back of his mind. At present, Smile Foundation has 74 mission education projects functional across the country. He's also the producer of feature film Am Kalam, which has achieved astounding success with the film traveling to over 30 countries and winning 22 national and international awards. I extend a very, very warm welcome to him as well. Could I now request first Shri Chanchalapathi Dasa we would like to hear him, so I would request him now to address this wonderful gathering.
Very happy to be here this evening amidst all of you. And my appreciation and greetings to Rashmi Ranjan Parida, founder and editor-in-chief of Odisha Diary, and other winners of different awards this evening, and my co-speaker from Smile Foundation. Generally, social development is regarded as an activity, as an important activity of the government. But actually, our country is very big and very complex, and all of us seated here are in some way benefited in our life from various programs the government has been running. And so it is also our responsibility that we must engage with the government, work with the government, and support in the social development initiatives that the government is taking, has been implementing all over the country. In our country, we have very wonderful policies, fairly large budgets allotted for all of these programs. It's not that we don't have enough funds. Actually, the irony of our country is that we are a very rich country with a lot of poor people. So government has good programs and a lot of budget, fairly good budget behind those. But the challenge in our country is to finally deliver that to the last mile, up to the last person who is in need of these benefits of these programs. That's where civic society organizations, non-profit organizations like all of us can participate in the larger development of our country's growth and social development. I'll just give a little bit of trends on the global scale about wealth distribution. The Oxfam International Report in 2015 declared that the combined wealth of the richest 1% of the world population will overtake that of the other 99% of the people in the next year, 2016, unless the current trends of rising inequality is checked. So we have a situation like this, but there is also a good side to it. This is what I would read out of this interesting data. If we work on the 1% of the rich, affluent people in the world and sensitize them, they can create a large impact in helping the 99% of the world. So this is as far as wealth distribution is concerned. Now when it comes to our country, the philanthropy trends in our country are something very, very interesting. Bain's India Philanthropy Report of 2017 reveals that the contributions from the private sector constituted 32% of the total contributions to the development sector. It is a significant increase considering the total contributions were 15% in 2011. So, more and more private sector is wanting to contribute for social development. The same report also says that the philanthropic funding from private individuals has increased from 6,000 crores in 2011 to 36,000 crores in 2016. 6 times growth. So this is all very good news for our country. Our country may be big, populated, complex problems, but we see that there are good trends in philanthropy. Now, today we are talking about philanthropy, the challenges and the opportunities of our era, of our century. And I want to speak from the experience of Akshya Patra, how the alchemy of philanthropy worked in Akshya Patra. And this is something that has worked for us. I think the basic principles that I will touch upon, any other non-profit organization, any other philanthropist can similarly get involved and make sizable impact in our country, in social development. So I'll quickly give a summary of Akshya Patra, how it began. Akshaya Patra, the midday meal program, for those who are not so familiar, I'll quickly tell what we are doing now. We work with the government and provide cooked midday meals in the schools, in government schools, because in our country, the poorest of the families send their children to the government school, both in urban India and rural India. And by providing hot, nutritious, and safe meal, there is enough evidence that more children come to the school, children stay in the school, girls stay in the school, and so that they complete their education. And it addresses the classroom hunger and enables them to study well and have a more educational and productive experience. Because the government is already spending crores of rupees on textbooks, uniform, salary of teachers, infrastructure, and all of those things. Imagine if a child is hungry, he will not be able to learn. So this strategic intervention of providing meals in the school enables the child, enables all of the other expenditure the government is making become more productive, because the children are able to learn better in the school. That's the program. We started in Bangalore in the year 2000. Started in a small way. At that time, we had no idea that we will grow into becoming a big national social initiative like we have become. And we were feeding 1,500 children in 5 schools on the outskirts of Bangalore city. And since then, we have been growing, and today we are providing meals, midday meals to about 17.5 lakh children in the country in 26 different locations. We are working in 12 different states, including the state of Odisha. We have been providing our services to children. And this is the growth story of Akshaya Patra. So now how did it all begin and how did we grow? I would like to share some story, particularly from the perspective of philanthropic involvement and how it enabled us to grow. As I was saying, this began in the Hare Krishna temple in Bangalore. And the temple was inaugurated in the year 1997. For those who have visited Bangalore, we are one of the important tourist destinations in the city. You would have probably come and seen. That's where it began. So it had become an important temple in the city, and we were having about 10,000 visitors every day coming. And we were about 70 or 80 missionaries ready to work, very inspired, wanting to do good to our country, good to the society. There was one interesting story about compassion within the organization, about our founder. The founder of the Hare Krishna movement is Srila Prabhupada. In the 1970s, he had inaugurated a temple of Krishna in Mayapur, West Bengal. And on the day of the inauguration of the temple, a lot of guests had come and a big lunch was served. And after the lunch, Srila Prabhupada was in his room talking to some guests when suddenly he heard dogs barking and children crying outside his window. He walked up to the window and he saw there were poor village children trying to get some food from the leaves that were strewn there, shooing away the stray dogs. Srila Prabhupada was a very compassionate person. He felt for the pains of others. When he saw that, there were tears in his eyes. He called the leaders of the organization at that time and he said, just see, we have invited Krishna to live in our temple today. Krishna is the father of everyone, and where there is father, his children should not go hungry. And at that time, he gave a direction that we must ensure no one in a 10-mile radius of a Krishna temple should go hungry, especially children. So this thought, this anecdote from the life of Srila Prabhupada was there. One day, one Sunday morning in the year 2000, two gentlemen walked into our temple. One was Mohandas Pai. He was the CFO of Infosys Technologies in Bangalore, and his school friend Abhay Jain. Both of them came and met us, the chairman of the Akshya Patra Foundation, and myself and a few others were there. And they said that you have built a big temple and it's very nice and a lot of people are coming. Swamiji, can you do something for the society, for the poor children and poor people and so on? So it was new for us. It was a new kind of a thinking because we have been absorbed in reading the Bhagavad Gita, teaching Bhagavad Gita, building temples. That was mostly our activity. And so they were now talking to us about social initiatives. And particularly they talked about various things, giving sewing machine to women and giving some IT education to young people and so on. And they also talked about the midday meal program of Tamil Nadu. And they said that an impact that it has created and so on. And they said, Swamiji, you think over, we'll come back after 1 or 2 weeks and you can let us know. So we knew that he was an important man from Infosys Technologies and he's going to come back and we must have some answer for him. And so we thought about this particular anecdote in the life of Srila Prabhupada. And 2 weeks later when they came, we said that, yes, of all the different programs, we would like to do the midday meal program. And very quickly, we started feeding 1,500 children on the outskirts of Bangalore city. The next thing that happened was, we started receiving letters from other headmasters who would write to us and say, we see your vehicle carrying the food pass in front of our school. Can you please stop and feed our children also? There are a lot of poor children in our country, in our school. So when you get these kind of letters, we didn't know what to do. We just kept them in the folder. And in about 3 or 6 months time, we had a bundle of that letters. And we counted and found that there were requests for about 50,000 children from different schools in Bangalore city. This was shocking to us and very revealing. Because in our country, there is poverty everywhere and we have become pretty numb to it. But what was striking to us was how much for these children and these families a meal matters which we all take for granted. So it was at that time we once again huddled together and we said that no, we should expand the program. And then we decided to set up a central kitchen to prepare meals for 30,000 children, and by 2001 we started feeding about 30,000 children in Bangalore, and since then we have been growing, going to new cities, new states, and that's how we are now in 26 different locations. Now, one of the important things that happened during the early days, we received one donation from an organization in Mumbai. It was called Impact Partners. They were basically bringing funds from different parts of the world and investing in companies. And they gave us a donation of about 25 lakh rupees. Apart from giving the 25 lakh rupee donation, what they did was they sent one senior person from their organization. She was probably an MBA from a good institute somewhere in India or wherever. I can't remember so much now. And she worked with me and our team in Bangalore for the next 3 or 4 months and helped us prepare reports and prepared us for having a board meeting. See, this was all new for us. We come from a religious background, building temples, giving pravachan on Gita. Now, preparing board meeting reports was actually new for us. But she helped us, and we had the first board of trustees meeting, and we prepared the reports, and she continued to come every few months, and that way, in the first year, we had about 3 board meetings, and in other words, what was happening with that donor was, they were not only contributing, but were actually building our own capacity to understand these important practices, gathering report and preparing the report, sharing the report, having periodic meetings. So that was an important learning for us. The next thing that happened was, within the discussions with Mohandas Pai and a few others, the concept of scaling up. One day he came to us and said, Swamiji, in our country the population is very big, the problems are on a big scale. Unless you do things on a big scale, you are barely scratching the surface of the problem. So you must think of doing things on a big scale. So that was an important learning for us. And then we started saying, yes, we will do 30,000 children, we will do more, we'll go to another place and set up another kitchen. So this concept of scaling up, doing things on a big scale, because that's there, very much there in the corporate world. They are trying to expand their footprint, they are trying to expand the market share, and all of those things they understand. This was new for us, and we learned this, and we decided that we have to do things on a big scale. Now, when we have to do things on a big scale, one important thing for an NGO one has to remember is we have to work with the government. Because the government has, number one, big funds. Number two, it has access to large number of people who are of our interest too. So next we had to work with the government, and then we had another gentleman in our group, Abhay Jain, who had come with Mohandas Pai. He was very good in networking with the politicians in the country, because this was all not known to us. So he helped us meet politicians and leaders of the country and work with the government and solicit their support and work with the government and get their support. This was another important learning for Akshya Patra. Once we had one visitor from United Nations, and that person, we explained to him what we are doing, and the person from United Nations started talking to us about measuring the impact of what we are doing. So very quickly we got interested about it, and impact measurement was another important thing that we learned, and we have been doing, in fact now after so many years, the entire measurement of impact has become very sophisticated, and we have very, very competent people within our organization doing impact assessment and impact measurement. So in short, Akshya Patra has been a great beneficiary of large number of people who not only gave money, they gave their time, they gave their experience, they shared with us what they do in the for-profit world. And on our part, what we did was we were very, very eager to learn from all of these kind of philanthropists. And we quickly absorbed all the good ideas that they wanted to tell us. So I think this is the alchemy that worked for Akshya Patra to become big. I think there is an important learning from this. We heard about strategic philanthropy. Actually, what was working in Akshya Patra was strategic philanthropy, collaborative philanthropy. People were not just giving money. So I would say for those philanthropists, if they, actually another thing that Mohandas Pai told us later on, they identified about 10 organizations, including ours, and they worked with them. Almost 8 of them failed. Akshya Patra was one of the successful stories. Like, it happens, all the investors in the business world, they understand. We talk about startups these days. They invest in about 10, 15, 20 startups. They understand about most of them will fail, but one or two of them become big success stories. In the same way, a philanthropist should invest in an NGO, a few NGOs, and not just give money, provide all the different other support that an NGO requires. NGO requires connections, networking with people, support from the government, and improving their own internal thinking about big solutions for our country. All of these things, if any philanthropist does, apart from giving money, and if an NGO is very willing and ready to absorb all of these things, I think it's a wonderful match. It's a wonderful marriage that can happen between an NGO and a willing philanthropist. And in that way, they can grow the organizations. As NGOs, what we are good at is we bring passion, we bring commitment, we bring dedication, and we bring compassion for the society. But these alone are not enough unless you have good management, good practices, connections in the world. If both the things come together, we can do things on a very big scale and make big impact in the country. And our country requires that kind of a big scale impact. And I think with more NGOs growing up and with more philanthropists supporting such growth of NGOs, we will have a very wonderful country in the years to come. These are some of the words that I wanted to share with all of you. Thank you very much. Namaste.